My name's Jassi Singh, also known as Singo, and also known to people in the community as the Maharaja of Dudley. When I'm not playing Street Fighter or fighting games, I'm a lawyer and I do accident claim management and recoveries for insurance companies.
The first game you ever finished?
The first game I ever finished, it must have been Super Mario Brothers on the NES, and the reason it was that is because there's only two games on the cartridge for what our dad bought us when we were kids, and that was Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, and no one's finishing Duck Hunt.
Okay, cool. So what was it like going to these arcades? Were they ran like?
Okay, so when I used to go to the arcades, me and my brother we were like 12 or 13 years old, but you'd have a lot older crowd in there as well. Well, considerable to a 12 or 11-year-old or a 13-year-old. You'd have 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and the atmosphere sometimes was quite intense, especially especially when you got a queue of kids behind you, and then you've got elder kids in front, and they would either bully people for their 20p's or their 10p's.
What was the draw with Street Fighter then?
I think I think the draw with Street Fighter is it was one of the first games. I mean, first of all, it looked amazing compared to the games out in the market at the time. The sounds, the large graphics, the sprites, and the fact that it was you was competing against you know someone who's literally standing next to you. And that was the draw. Is just about I'm not this is a one-on-one contest. I want to show that I'm better, and I'm gonna do what it takes in order to stay on this machine. And depending on which arcade you went and what day of the week, you'd have a line of kids just all waiting to have their turn in order to knock off the person who's been on the machine for a while.
So could you just tell me, I guess briefly, how things have changed from like Street Fighter 2 to some of the newer fighting
I
games?
mean the main way that things have changed in terms of fighting games from like the early 90s to date is access, and that's access to the games themselves and access to players. Whereas before you'd have to hope that someone was there. Either you play against your friends or you play against whoever was in the arcade at the time, or whoever turned up to your house to play the game. If your parents allowed friends over to play these games,
Tournaments in like, kind of the arcade days.
they definitely did not have tournaments in our area within Birmingham. What you also have to understand is that I was 12 or 13 years old at the time, and my only access to these games were when I was walking somewhere with my parents, or I've sneaked off and run up the road in order to play these games. Tournaments were a thing, but I think that's more for people who are probably like 18 and above.
Cool. So I've got one more question here. Um, could you tell me a bit about Virtual Chip Shop?
All right, go on then. Okay, so Virtua Chip Shop is an event that I run on my Twitch channel, and it's just to try and capture some of the old time, the old school feeling of these old games of when I used to play them in the arcades, and I'm sure a lot of other people, especially with the pandemic at the moment, everyone's stuck indoors. These types of games are not ideal, obviously, to play online all the time, but if it's what you've got, it's the best that we've got it's the best that we've got at the moment up until the events start running. And the main thing with these events is it's not just playing the game, it's it's the community, it's the people that you meet, it's the jokes and the laughs that you have on the way. Even if you win, even if you lose, there's always fun to be had. There's always someone having a little joke.
So these games look old. Like, doesn't it put you off visually?
No, I mean the old school graphics. I wouldn't go for. I wouldn't say that they look bad or they're terrible. What you got to understand is that Just because a game's got good graphics doesn't mean that it's going to, stand the test of time.
The last one that I'll ask then is, what is your favorite fighting game and why?
Well, my favorite fighting game is Third Strike, and for the Third Strike is also known as Street Fighter 3. It's the third version of Street Fighter 3, developed by Capcom. The reason that I love this game is not only is it based upon one of my childhood favorites, which was Street Fighter 2, which everyone and their dad played, but the reason that I love Third Strike is because initially I hated it. I didn't understand it. I didn't appreciate the way it looked, and I didn't play this game for years after its release, and it was only through recommendations and just picking it up cheaply and just playing it with with my brother or my friend that we thought we stumbled upon something, or that we overlooked just how great this game was. And when we started looking online, online for matches or how to play the game, a whole new world opened up to us, because the way that we were playing the game wasn't how other people in the world were playing it. And when you saw some of the setups, the tactics, or the strategies people were using for certain characters, and then you're looking at yourself and say, "Oh, hang on, I didn't even know you could do that." It kind of opened my opened my eyes to what was possible, what you could do, and it's just having those options which made the learning the game enjoyable.